Good. Wow.
How'd you get here?
Will of the people. Too much discussion, too much abstraction, too much questioning, not enough doing. Nietzsche said the exact same thing.
That's not really true.
He said that Germany had too many representatives and intermediaries in politics and not enough men of action. I mean, once you start
Bureaucrats.
reading it really is astonishing.
And by the way, most of the left hates bureaucrats. Who likes bureaucrats? What the fuck is that? There's a necessity to bureaucracy within capital as a thing, but like the enjoyment of bureaucracy.
How much it's just.
Genealogy is late in the immortalist period. Morty. She's been talking about genealogy and morals the entire time. So, well, she may be right about early Nietzsche. She's not quoting early Nietzsche, talking about early Nietzsche, referring to early Nietzsche. She's only referring to late Nietzsche. You can't go, well, I'll give her credit because she's getting the other Nietzsche wrong. It's like, what the fuck? Well, Big Aaron, this presentation, I did fuck with this a lot. The presentation is terrible, though. I agree with that.
Same thing. When anti-modernists go on this let's shrink the state crusade, they become natural allies of big corporations. Big corporations hate regulation and government because it cuts into their profits. So they team up. Elon Musk is the embodiment of that team up. The solution that anti-modernists pose is usually one of two things. Either
just have to like it's tough for me because again it's also very late and I've been going for 300 years, but the idea that Nietzsche is anti-modernist on its face is farcical. Nietzsche embraced the scientific method, which is, I mean, I don't even know. Like, what the fuck? Gay science, it's not about a queer science. It's a gay science is like explosion of enjoyment science. It's him talking about the nature of psychological and physical and biological analysis that can be done with that. The liberating from moral constraints is Nietzsche's thing. That's modernism, like on its face. The destruction of old values is what Nietzsche celebrated. She said that already. Like, they want to go back to the old values, and it's like, then that's the opposite of Nietzsche. That's like, so it's just cherry picking bullshit. It's just, he said God is dead. How do you not say that's a modernist take as a thing? Like, what the fuck? He wanted people to experience and did push for non-standard relationships, polyamory as a thing, which he totally fucking did, by the way. He wanted to play with those things, and his entire thing was about like a modernist historical consciousness. Like, it's just fucking gross. It's just so gross. It's such a gross. It's so gross. It's so the opposite of this shit. I understand people wanting to give her credit, but like, Jesus fucking Christ. You don't have to talk about things you don't understand. You don't understand this. Stop. Just stop. You have life experiences. Go tell us about things that you do care about and know. Please, dear God, stop this.
We all have to become religious again, or we all have to embrace some kind of new values that don't include things like pluralism and freedom and discussion and democracy. In practice, though, it shakes out to the same thing.
No, it doesn't.
Dictatorship. For anti-modernists, liberal
Fucking
democracy is a stake that needs to be rolled back. And when anti-modernists team up with big corporations to take over the government, historians call that mix fascism. But here's why we can't just dismiss it as nihilism or madness, because there is a kind of void in the heart of society. Of course there is. You can feel it every day.
It's called alienation. Marx talked about it. Nietzsche talked about it.
Check this out. Unless you win the lottery, or you come from money, you're basically just a container for skills that employers want.
Yes.
At the drop of a hat, you might have to move cities, move countries, retrain, give up your artistic dreams, learn to code, take on debt, neglect your family, neglect your health, neglect your caring responsibilities, disregard your heritage, lose your accent, and become indistinguishable
Literally just describing her own life and the things that have affected her.
from a billion other people all trying to do the exact same thing.
But I really just want to be an individual who's seen and special and that is validated by a society that consumes.
As interchangeable as nails in a fence post, all to make money, some of which is going to go to you, but most of which actually is going to go to your boss and
Yes.
your landlord and your insurance company if you're American. That is a kind of nihilism. That is against living. It's against human life. It doesn't make anyone feel good. I mean, it definitely happens if you're poor, but there are a lot of places like elite universities where there are plenty of people who are just burned out on how difficult it is to make a living.
Hey, short version. Yeah, capitalism. What the fuck?
That is the way that the economy is organized, and it sucks. It sucked in Nietzsche's time, and it sucks even harder now.
Yep.
We should change this.
The screen distortion is mine, as is the brown noise you're hearing in the background. Yep. Because, yeah.
In Nietzsche's universe, culture is downstream from politics, which is downstream from values, which is downstream from race. But a more accurate picture
Oh,
would
God.
say that everything...
Wait.
Culture is downstream from politics, which is downstream from values, which is downstream from race. Is downstream from politics, which is downstream from value.
I slapped myself a few times in case I was sleeping. Thank you, the olive did help, picture. Okay. For Nietzsche, your drives, or your actions are downstream from your drives, which are downstream from your material conditions, which are downstream from your social position, which are downstream from the political realities of where you're at, which is downstream from the values of your society, which is downstream from the power structures. Race is in there, certainly. If you don't think race affects how people behave in the world, you're silly and kind of dumb and short-sighted. But Nietzsche didn't think race is the intangible, transcendent truth from which, as a fount, all other things spout. So just materialism, pretty much? Yes, Nietzsche was basically a materialist. Along the lines of Marx? I mean, yeah. Like, yeah. Exceptionally so. I don't think there is Nietzschean writing where he says race is the true underling of everything. That is not how he talks about race at all. You could make an argument that he overemphasizes the value of race in the eventual subjectivity that's produced. That I could have an argument with you about. And I might be able to... I actually probably wouldn't argue very hard with that. But to say race is where everything spreads from, as if it's the thing, is not how this works. I love Lucy. You only say that because you haven't read Nietzsche's paywalled unpublished stuff. Oh, Abigail. How I hope someday someone publishes all of your unsent DMs or private DMs and says that whatever's in them is who you truly are.
Values, which is downstream from race. But a more accurate picture would be to say that everything is downstream from the way that the economy is organized.
Yes, Marx.
Even our values. We all have to compromise our values.
Wait.
We should change this.
What?
In Nietzsche's universe, culture is downstream from politics, which is downstream from values, which is downstream from race. But a more accurate picture.
Okay, bad writing again. And again, she doesn't understand intonation. Shit actress. When she says, but a more accurate picture would be to say, is she saying Nietzsche's wrong, an accurate way to view? But the challenge is she says a more accurate picture, which implies that she's saying a more accurate picture of what Nietzsche would say is. Right? It's like if the word is more, but a more accurate picture, you're not saying a more accurate picture of the world, you're saying a more accurate picture of the thing you just said. This is how the subject and sentence structure works, and how signification and manifestation and denotation operate in a series of problematic structures.
Would be to say that everything is.
I think she's not saying that for Nietzsche everything's this. She's saying more accurate. Nietzsche's wrong. More accurately, everything is downstream from the systems of production.
Downstream from the way that the economy is organized. Even our values. We all have to compromise our values so often just to survive.
No. Oh. We don't compromise our values materially. Our values are produced by the system and the economic system that we're in. When you feel compromised, that's because you were produced to feel compromised, because that's part of the setup, because we feel like we're making an exchange, a compromise. We are working within the system. We feel like we are. But a compromise is not that, not materially. This is very frustrating.
And here's
the final twist, I'm sure.
Final
twist. All of this was a dream, and I never even tried reading Nietzsche. Oh no. The same fucking bit, the same person again. She's a fine writer, but to keep bringing this one writer up at the end of both videos, hack.
The philosopher Wendy Brown says that in a theocracy, the government tells you who you have to be. Worship this god, value these things, follow these rules. But in a liberal...
Yeah, that's not... Hate to break it to you. It's not fucking Wendy Brown. That's not... She came up with this great idea. Wendy Brown, this philosopher, a modern philosopher who works on everything, said that in dictatorships, you have to do what is dictated to you. That's a thing she said. That's like political theory? Like, I don't even know. That's like baseline 5-year-old shit. What the fuck? Like, this is as good as this gets, I think. Am I wrong? I think this is as good as this gets. This is the thing. Fucking embarrassing. Fucking embarrassing. God.
Liberal democracy, the government doesn't do that. It doesn't tell you what you're supposed to value.
See, this is why someone's a liberal. When you're in the UK, this is the tough part. And I appreciate, from my Brit friends, I appreciate the difficulty of being on the left there. After everything with Corbyn and all the things that they did in general and how politics works there, I get this. But I mean this when I say it, and it's a thing that I've recognized very continuously. It is almost impossible, it seems, and I applaud those of you that have done it, when you're in UK, to stop being a liberal and actually move to the left. There's an extraordinary number of people who mistake liberalism for leftism in the UK, and they don't get, when they've extricated themselves, they just like using the words. A liberal in the UK would say, our country doesn't tell you what to value. Why would we? We're a liberal democracy. That's what Abigail's saying right here. But a leftist, or as one of my favorite people would say, I'm a fucking communist, you moron. to peers. Fuck. Beautiful people. It does tell you what you're supposed to value. That's what capitalism does. It tells you what to value. It doesn't do it overtly. And that's what Nietzsche's talking about. It doesn't ever say, value this. That's not what capitalism does. It's not what liberalism does. It works differently. It works by changing how you're produced. That's why it's different than a dictatorship and a theocratic. I don't think we're going to fall into theocracy, not in the same way that we had in the past, where the president is, or the king is, God's right hand and divinely placed and more of a pinpoint than a person. That's not what we're doing. We're sliding into the worst of both worlds. This is stupid. This is really awful.
Because you have things like separation of church and state and pursuit of...
Nietzsche does not refer to economic systems because, like, he talks about he does shit on a very particular group of, I can't remember exactly the word he used for it. It's a German word. I think it's kind of like lefties, but it's he shits on them a little bit. It's a different, but he wouldn't be like capitalism versus, like, that's not, that shit was being invented around his time. Like, it's a very different thing.
Happiness and a degree of individual liberty and so on. The idea is you bring your own values to life and you find out what they are by living it. Making a conscious choice about what you value out of life and what it is that you want, doing the kind of Nietzschean thing of becoming an individual and asserting yourself and claiming your own values, it's really, really difficult. It's scary. There's a lot of obstacles in the way.
See, and this is all because Abigail thinks she's overcome all of this. That she's like an expression of the will to power.
And what if it turns out that your values and the things that you want out of life aren't what mainstream society approves of? Well, then things can get a little difficult, believe me. So we get this tension between democratic nihilism, which is kind of by design and like kind of a good thing. It allows you room to grow as an individual and bring your own values to life. And on the other hand, we have capitalism running in and saying, I know what the answer is. You should value making a profit. And we have nationalism running in and saying, I know what you should value the nation. And we have racism running in saying, I know what you should value the race. And we have religion running in and saying, I know what you should value the teachings in this book. And so there's this
He's not a vulgar nihilist either. Jesus Christ. It's deeply oversimplifying Nietzsche. Don't do that, please.
Constant push and pull between democracy and anti-democracy going on all the time. Wow. We've really come a long way from my friend arguing with his daughter. I have no idea what your point is. Video essay answer to this problem that Wendy Brown identifies. That is kind of the...
You didn't say the problem she identifies. She said in a theocracy, you're ordered... Oh, you're hearing that from her. Sorry, I thought you were talking about me. And you were being sarcastic. It's hard to tell. Sorry, Constantine. It's hard to tell. I thought you were answering me like, oh, I didn't know he was a... Well, because I was describing him a little... I was oversimplifying a couple of his things that are a little bit in that direction. So I was kind of like, oh, come on. But if you're... This whole thing, she's fucking... Ugh, this is awful.
PhilosophyTube way, isn't it? Like, hey, here's the thing that you can do. Here's the John Oliver positive takeaway. But I really do think that
Zoo Phillips, nihilism is easily the most misrepresented philosophy, and I hate it. First off, I like the idea that it's misrepresented, like miscongeniality in a beauty contest. I see nihilism standing there with like a sash that says misrepresented. Sorry it's late. I've been doing this for too many hours. I have a couple books by another nihilist. Trouble with Being Born is an example of one from Shorin. You want to talk about nihilism? Nihilism is one of the most beautiful outlooks on life if you're ready for it. It's one of those things I tend to say when I talk about Shorin as a thing. I don't recommend Shorin. I'll explain why in a second. It's actually really, really depressing. But nihilism as a thing, if you are an idealist, is and seems like a very depressing way to view the universe. And I don't think I would disagree with that. It is, from that position, horrifying almost. And I'm not going to like fight that. It is a thing that is necessarily difficult from that place. But if you've already made the steps towards sort of abandoning the representational mindset and working towards that, going into Nietzsche with nihilism actually to me yields a beautiful outlook on life. And Søren, more than that as well. Like, it just is this extraordinary view of like the most beautiful way to look at everything. But if you're not there, we had a guy running the Søren reading group on our server. We won't allow another one because he took his own life. It's very, very depressing. It made a lot of us, it ruined, it like really broke the server for a while because it was just this really strange thing. But nihilism ends up, Bergson, Sunday says, I think Bergson's great for this because he's overflowing with an optimism that doesn't rely on idealism to justify itself. That is why I find nihilism beautiful. It doesn't rely on secondary thoughts or ideas or things that you need to ascribe to or transcendent elements. Proper nihilism is actually incredibly beautiful and positive. Incredibly beautiful. But if you're not there, you're not there.
Tension is quite possibly one of the defining questions of the 21st century, so we are...
It is not. You have no understanding of this, and you do not do philosophy in any capacity, and you should stop doing philosophy.
In real time. Here's something that I thought of, though, when I was writing this episode. I have another friend who was born disabled, and a while ago, I used the word freak in front of her to describe someone else. And she said to me, hey, that word really makes me feel bad. Could you use something else? And just for a second, I got mad in my head because I was like, obviously, I wouldn't use the word freak to describe you. I would never use the word freak to describe somebody who was disabled. Like, stop telling me what to say. Obviously, I would use it to describe someone who was weird. I wouldn't use it in that way. Like, why are you telling me that I'm bad? Why do you think that I'm bad? How could you think that about me? Just get off my back, is what I thought. But then I reflected a little bit and I realized that using a different word probably wasn't going to impact me all that much. And by using that word, I was sort of throwing her off the balance of her day. I was like, putting a wrench in her system. And I could avoid doing that. So having reflected internally, I made the choice to bump that.
I did the Nietzschean thing by censoring the words I use around a friend of mine who's sensitive about certain words that are unrelated to the thing. That's very... I'm so confused by this. So confused by this. I don't get it. I don't get it. I need someone to explain this story to me. I gotta tell you. Another way to read that would be, my friend did not have the power to not be offended. So I made the choice as the master in the master-slave comparison to not offend her. Because I have that power. Because I'm better. And I find myself better. Is the Nietzschean thing to be an asshole and say deal with it? No, I think that would be a way to interpret. I would be hesitant. I think meeting the person honestly where you both are, which is like, oh, fuck, why does that upset you? It's like, oh, because, people have called me freak before. It's like, oh shit, that sucks. Yeah, I can stop using that around you. Like, then that's like, having a conversation, but like, just reflexively going like, I made a choice. I made a choice. I made a choice. I have the freedom. They don't have the freedom. Why doesn't your friend have the freedom? Why don't you talk to them and be like, hey, freak, that's not about you. Like, you're not that as a thing. Like, I mean, if your friend was like, I don't know. I all I can think is like fucking old freak shows and shit, which, you know, I have friends who are little people, dwarves, all kinds of, like, you can use these terms. People don't get pissy as long as it's like, it's just very strange. It's a very strange mentality. Like, they don't have the choice, but I have the freedom. Liberals, man. I just talk to people, be like, oh, fuck. Oh, I fucked up. I didn't know. If it's a word of hate. Example, I am a 90s kid. Teenager in the 90s. We use the F word all the time. When I say all the time, you kids don't fucking understand what it was like in the 90s. Everyone said the F word all the fucking time. It's not for everyone. Like everyone. It was fucking wild. I had to learn not to say that word. But the thing is, it is a word of hate. It was a word of hate. Still is. It's a word of insult. Absolutely. It's directed at a particular class. It's like the N-word. Really, it's in that sort of category thing. That kind of thing, stuff to train myself out of. But if I misuse it, it took time, it took years. It takes a lot to get some of these things out of your setup. But that thing, it's like, what do you do? How do you handle it? Well, different context. Someone brings up, of all people, Bushwick Bill. Why would you bring up, of all fucking people, Bushwick Bill? So one year I'm working the Gathering of the Juggalos. Bushwick Bill is there. And he liberally uses words that I would not use. Of all the people to fucking mention is fucking Bushwick Bill. What the fuck? Of all the people. He's a weird little fucking dude. He was a weird fucking dude. But that thing, it's a whole different world, because him and the words he would use for himself. I know I mentioned dwarves, but literally, I mean, of all the people, I happen to have known Bushwick Bill and had experience with him, of all the people. But it's like that thing is really, different people have different takes on these things. Being around a person and engaging a person where they're at is a big deal. But just these words being evil all the time is also just as fucking silly and just as fucking stupid. And there's a lot of dancing and a lot of complexity around the contingency of all of these things. But there's a reality that you deal with people in their lived experiences where they are, and that a person has the ability, just as much as I have the ability, to stop saying the word. If I don't mean it with hate, there's really, just be like, talk to them. That person has as much power to learn not to be resentful and angry when they hear the word, because it's not about them. There's talking to people. Talk to humans. Like, don't just go, oh, well, I'm good enough. Like this is what Nietzsche was criticizing. I am a good person. So therefore I will exercise my ability not to say the thing, because that's what good people do, is not do a thing. That's the slave. That's resentment, slave mentality right there. Spot on. And it's just, so frustrating, because it's like just the opposite of what he would say. And to equate this weird virtue signaling moment, it's like, God, just fuck. I will tell you right now, you go to some rap concerts, no one's going to give a shit if you're singing along with all the lyrics. Some others, they will, very much. You got to kind of be where you are and have conversations with people. And just be real and be where you're at, and understand there's other things you can't say. Enjoy, like, for example, Kendrick Lamar's "They Not Like Us." Who can say that? What can you say? How do you say that? Where is it said? There's a lot of subtleties in all these different sentences and words that really mean things important to people. And treat people good. Treat yourself good. It's just, this is such a weird, frustrating thing. So frustrating to hear it like this. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it so much. One sec, I'm looking. Sunday wrote me a note. Oh, it's some other stupid dumb shit. Let's finish this fucking thing.
If that were down the list of my vocabulary, I made her life a little easier, and that decision came from me. So I enhanced her freedom, and I also used my freedom. It wasn't a will to power trick. She wasn't trying to will to power me, and I wasn't trying to get like woke brownie points by using my will to power to kind of virtue signal to her. It was just, we enhanced.
Jesus fucking Christ. Play devil's advocate and give charitable comments on this video. Is it all trash? It's all trash. I tried early on to like try to understand it. She's just doing the opposite across the board. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Did Abigail really enhance the other person's freedom? No. What they did is they enhanced the other person's resentment. So if the sheep asked the eagle, don't do that anymore. I don't do that. Why would you? And the eagle goes, oh, I won't. You haven't enhanced the sheep's freedom. That hasn't changed. Hasn't changed at all. You changed nothing. You changed nothing. Just remember when you're trusting, oh no, you wanted me to look over your essay? I am going to have fun reviewing it on stream.
Our freedom together. Anti-modernism and Nietzsche are both pretty individualistic.
I'm having a tough time. I'm having a tough time, guys.
And that's where I think it kind of falls down.
You are the most fucking individualist motherfucker we've seen yet. Nietzsche is not even close to how fucking narcissistic you are. This falls down. Nietzsche falls down.
This trying to become a heroic individual thing, that to me feels a little bit like being on a treadmill. Because even if you become the great individual and you achieve everything and you become so dominant and strong, like who do you have to share it with? It's like a 1986 after school special moral. It's a child book fucking ethic. What the fuck? If you become so strong, who do you have to share it with? I have an example of Donald Trump. Everybody. Elon Musk. Everybody. So they have everyone to share it with. They're big and strong and they have everyone to share it with. We have nothing but being forced to do that. Everyone. Everyone. When you're in power, it's everyone. You moron. I mean, look at a guy like Elon Musk.
Problem is, Nietzsche argued for everyone to become the Ubermensch, the best version of himself, not the chosen few. I mean, and Ubermensch isn't it like the overman. Again, in English, these things have very different secondary meanings, and also post-Nazism a little probably affected it a little bit, but it's like empowered. You know what? Doesn't matter. It's just awful.
He has so much and he's miserable.
Yeah, really? He's miserable? He's having threesomes with like famous starlets. He's an empty sack of shit and lies all the time. But he is in a frenzied, ketamine and cocaine fueled forward movement of what he believes to be changing the future of the government. And he can literally do anything he wants. Why would he be miserable? I can't think he's happy. We want to have a conversation about this. In my video, I have a conversation about capitalist eunuchs, which is a lovely term I love from Marx and that Deleuze reappropriates. That someone who is so in line with capital, their own desire is in line, and so as such, they barely exist. They're a capitalist eunuch. I take it a step further. I think Trump is a capitalist cuck, but there's a whole reason for that. But I'd be very hard-pressed to say that he's miserable. As an example, there are probably families who can't eat tonight who are more miserable. I mean, I would think someone who can't feed their children, someone who tonight, it's very freezing here in Portland, is doing their best to tuck their kids into the back seat of the car that they sleep in with as many blankets as they could get from the local Salvation Army. And they're not sure it's enough and if their kids will live to wake up till tomorrow. So they're keeping the car running, but they have to stay awake all night because if the car's running and everyone walks over, they may die because of smoke inhalation. That is a special kind of misery. That's not what Elon Musk is experiencing.
He's the richest man in the world, but like, you know, ketamine's not that expensive. Nobody who accomplished anything worthwhile ever managed it on their own. And
this is just, now you're just saying garbage.
not everybody who challenges us is trying to pull some kind of will to power.
Just wait, if you virtue signaling trick, whatever.
Signaling trick on us. Sometimes they're just trying to grow.
Trying to grow too by telling you not to say words. That's how they grow. They grow by repressing you. And which you may choose to take advantage of that or to not say certain words because they are words of hate, but they are just words, and understanding the contingency of experience and the lived experience that you're living alongside other people and giving them room to be who they are and having that honest back and forth that's more than just, oh my God, I'm sorry, I won't say it again, which is how a child views things, and instead having a discussion. That's what you can do. My mic was crackling, sorry. Doug Stanhope, I won't play this one on stream, has a wonderful bit on friends of his in Alaska that are little people. And a fight he got into with one of them because he called them a word he shouldn't have. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic bit because it is about the absurdity of it and also the fairness of it. But it's these things together. Doug Stanhope is, without knowing, Doug Stanhope is a leftist comedian. He doesn't even know it, but it's accurate. The power of words and how they work. It is not as simple as this. Tara Abydos wrote a book. T-A-R-A space Abydos, A-B-Y-D-O-S. You will find this book. I would say please buy it because I would like you to support, because I'd like her to write more books. This is buy this, especially if you're white. It is not an easy book to read in terms of like, I mean, it's not a difficult read. It's difficult emotionally to read, and it's uncomfortable, but it's about how we use words and the necessity of them. And it's fucking brilliant. The name of the bit, I don't think I can say the name of the bit. It's Doug Stanhope, and it's, there's another word for little people. That would be the thing to search for.
Or two. I mean, here's my hot take.
I have friends who, there's a lot of things with that I'm very sensitive to. I get that one.
I kind of like pluralism.
It's an M-word bit, yeah.
Modernism and individual freedom, because we all have the potential to grow and change in unexpected ways.
According to it's not about the word, but about you wishing the other person to understand the word could be potentially hurtful to you. I agree. But that's actually my point, is that it's not about the word. Someone's saying, it's like, oh, God, I didn't realize that. And talking to somebody and having that momentary connection and talking through it and seeing maybe, can you help them get through that? Because if you're in a wheelchair, the word freak is not like a derogatory thing about you. If you look at that freak and talking about a MAGA person and then someone in a wheelchair gets hurt, having a conversation around that, I think could be fine if you're friends. I think that could be fine in general. Talk to people. That's the thing. Talk to people and be human about it. Don't be a dick. Don't go out in front of it. And also don't think you have special powers over them.
We have the potential to do it together too, and that's why I like that the government doesn't tell me what to believe or what God to worship, because, you know, who knows what you could turn out to be.
It's just terrible. It's just terrible. If you don't actually read these texts, you should not comment on them. That's it. If you... does she have a big audience? Yeah, 1.6 million on YouTube. Followers. That's just YouTube. If you don't understand things, you shouldn't be talking about it. Because the problem is, you do so from an authoritative position, people assume you know what you're talking about. And they just assume that's what you're doing. I could do the same thing. Anyone can with anything. You can just bullshit and lie about everything that's happening. Don't do that anymore. If you don't actually spend the time to read, and you are not doing philosophy anymore, and that's fine. Go be an actress. Or whatever the fuck you think you are. Go write, go do, no one cares. You're not doing philosophy anymore. You're busy doing other stuff. You're allowed to be busy doing other stuff. You couldn't even do philosophy before. So, like, now we know. So don't try to get other people to write it. Just stop. Please. People are trying to actually do real work in here and trying to do real activism and trying to do real things that push real praxis. And you. You don't understand what she was getting at? Neither do I. I watched both videos. I think she was getting at some sort of straw man weird way to stand up Nietzsche to make other points that were not very clear. I don't get any of the points. And again, Abigail's done a handful of good videos. They're just not on fucking philosophy.